I'm going to tell you what I've learned after 2 days of USC's fall camp.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC, part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube or wherever you are listening to your podcast, this show is always free, and this show always appreciates your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs have winded down and the sports, they're not sporting like we want them to. FanDuel has hooking up all their customers with a boost or a bonus, and they're doing it daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com, and you can get started today. I was there. First 2 days of fall camp. Okay. It's not what I heard from someone else. I'm going to tell you what I got to see. I was there. Day one. In fact, I was there for the first 2 days. First day, we were limited. Day two, we were there for the entire fall camp practice. So first day kicked off 7 a.m., which meant I was there by 6 a.m. And then day two, I actually got to sleep in a little bit because they didn't start practice until 8:15. And it was on a Saturday. So I didn't have to deal with traffic either. And then day three, you're watching this on Monday, beginning of the week. Day three, USC was inside the Coliseum. Yeah, they're getting ready for the season, already moving around. So the media was not allowed to watch practice on Sunday, and we won't be allowed back on Monday or on Tuesday. However, credentialed media, we get to go back on Wednesday to watch practice again. Here's what I know, because here's what I saw in person. That off-season work that they put in the weight room, this team is ready and they're open for business. I know what these guys look like. Oh, you know what? You're going to see what they look like. Let's do this. While I'm talking, let's see what you get to see. Check this out. Let me do this. Go here. There you go. So I'm going to keep talking now, and you can see the players as they arrive for practice. As you can see, the first guys you saw there, special teams, and as they keep going, and I know I could have added names. I didn't have time. I apologize. Look at their jersey numbers. Look it up. If you have any questions, ask me. I'll let you know. So again, USC, first 2 days of camp, that's their acclimation period. It's an NCAA rule. Shorts, helmets, get you warmed up a little bit. They'll start putting the pads on here shortly, and that way they can start their contact. So technically, no contact is going on during the first few days of practice. But we all know football is a collision sport. Guys bump into each other all the time. On day two, Eric Gentry, Lake McRee, they bumped into each other. No one was hurt. But again, it was just a reminder, football is a contact collision sport. And on that second day, things kind of ramped up a little bit, the energy. So was the heat. Temperature was up. Now, is this a coincidence? I'm going to ask you. Listeners, hit me up. Let me know. Did I make something happen? Remember the Big Ten Conference Media Day? I asked Coach Riley for extra access. It's happening. On Saturday, we got to stay in there for the entire day. So I hope everyone kind of appreciates that effort that I went to asking Coach Riley. Now, we can't point out specific stuff. And that way, if we adhere to the rules, maybe seeing all of practice can be a more frequent thing. We'll find out. So after days one of fall camp, I asked Coach Riley about his thoughts about the new facilities compared to his first 2 years. He said it gave him goosebumps. And it's really difficult to explain. It's going to be difficult for me to explain how much more space the team actually has to practice with right now. But again, it didn't give me goosebumps like I gave Coach Riley, but I'm going to go into it a little bit more in the second segment of the show. So as I mentioned, technically, no contact during the first two practices, but it happens. So no tackling. There's not supposed to be any type of thud going on. I mentioned over on WeRC.com when I did my day one notes and observations report, Devin Tompkins, he was ready to hit somebody already. He told Coach New on their walkout, I need to hit somebody. And I'm going to be focusing in on Mekhi Lemon, his shoes, wide receiver. Day one, he wore white shoes. And day two, he came in high tops, also white, silver toe. And the reason I'm bringing it up, real trivial, but if you're old enough, you might know who Billy White Shoes Johnson is. Really dynamic wide receiver who played for the Houston Oilers back in the 70s. Mekhi, he can carve out a role, not just in the wide receiver group, returning kicks. He's got that power, that athleticism, that shiftiness. He is for sure one of those guys, when he puts his foot in the ground, he is just 0 to 60 like that. He can go. He's got that type of talent. Sean Nua, when he came out, he had that really crazy look in his face. He had that tongue. He was all over the place. Gene Simmons, he would have been jealous. Easton Mascarenas Arnold, linebacker transfer from Oregon State. He caught my attention. He was showing some love to USC's All-American wall on his way out. On Saturday, you might notice it, Kyle Ford, Kamari Ramsey, they came out together. So I was wondering, maybe Kyle Ford was telling Kamari the joke. Two Bruins walk into a bar and the bartender says, just caught my attention that two former Bruins walking out together. Oh, there they are. And by the way, I thought Kyle had a really good day two of fall camp. I didn't see any drop passes that I remember seeing. And I will say this, he's going to be a force when he catches the ball in stride. You get him the ball in stride on a slant pattern or a crossing pattern in man coverage, yeah, get Traveler ready. Line him up at the end of the tunnel because USC, Spirit of Troy, they're going to be playing Conquest. Touchdown, USC. He moves really well for a guy his size. I got to watch Saturday's one-on-one sessions, wide receivers versus defensive backs. Again, I'm not allowed to tell you who went against who, but there was one repetition. Jaden Richardson, transfer from Tufts, Division III. He ran a really nice route. He left his defender turned the wrong way. And he also showed some really strong hands. That was on day one, where the ball was thrown behind him, but he snatched it up still. It kind of reminded me of that catch that Jacoby Lane had in the Holiday Bowl, sliding over the middle. You remember, you know what I'm talking about. Jaden, he's good. Make no mistake about it. Runs really clean routes. He's kind of like a poor man's version of Jordan Addison. Defensive back transfer, Greedy Vance was really good during the one-on-one period, the 7-on-7 period. Achille Arnold, he had an interception on Saturday, day two. Trojan fans, get used to hearing that phrase a lot. It was a really nice play. He actually made a diving attempt in front of the receiver. Kyron Hudson, he's playing with a lot of confidence right now, and he showed it off. He made a nice over-the-shoulder catch. Corner of the end zone. Defender was really good coverage. Miller Moss, though, he dropped it. He just dropped the perfect dime right into Kyron's hands. The only play that Malachi Crawford could make was making a punch its ball, and he actually touched it, but Kyron controlled it. And I can talk about that one specific one-on-one rep because USC social media showed it on X. So go check it out. Transfer wide receiver, Jay Fair, he had a really nice catch going along the back of the end zone, and he let the defender know it as well when he finished it. He said, Jay can't be messed with. Coach Bookie Radley Hiles, he heard it. He heard Jay. Said, we'll see when the pads come on. We'll see. Talking some smack back to the defensive coach, talking smack back to the offensive player who was talking smack to the defensive player. Just how it works. Oh, by the way, Jay used a much different word than messed with. It rhymes with ducked. Figured out. I like Jay's game really fast. He's got that quick twitch to him. He can return kicks as well. He's working with special teams. Zachariah Branch, yeah, beautiful over-the-shoulder catch between two guys. But he ran out of space and bounds. The defense, both guys, they used the defender to give him a third guy. And they deserve some credit because they kind of rode Zachariah out of the play before he had a chance to catch it in bounds. That's good coaching right there. Jacoby Lane, another wide receiver, he high-fives everyone he sees. Everyone he makes eye contact with. What's really interesting, each high five has a different routine. So I'm not sure how he remembers every one of them, but guys he's high-fiving, they know his. They know their routine. Jacoby also had almost had a really nice one-handed catch. And this went up, he went up over two defenders in the end zone. He actually had the ball, but when he came down, he couldn't complete the catch to the ground. He got knocked down, ball came out. Still, just knowing what he's capable of, really awesome. Speaking of great big Trojan wide receivers, BMW, Mike Williams, you remember him. He looks like the tight end everyone thought he would be. He's not fat per se, but he's a big dude. As far as the quarterbacks go, Jaden Mayava, really big arm. However, Miller Moss is way ahead of him right now at least from a developmental standpoint. And he should. He's been in the college game longer. He's had Lincoln Riley training him. Mayava is going to develop just fine. But you can really see a difference in the footwork. That's the first thing I noticed. So, like I said, Jaden, he'll be fine. And I think he might even get a package installed for the LSU game. But that's probably going to be the extent of it. Miller is your starting quarterback right now. Period. Sorry. And I don't say that to be mean or to say that Jaden can't do the job. It's just fact. It is where it is right now. And for those of you who question Miller Moss's arm strength, just stop it. Stop now. Don't do it. I watched him throw a freaking dart. It was a really long out pattern from the opposite hash mark. He threw it to the long side of the field on a line for a completion. Had plenty of zip on the ball. And I think we also know that Miller's arm is plenty big enough to get Deuce Robinson open deep, just like we saw him do it in the Holiday Bowl. It'll happen, right? One other roster note that I should make mention of, there's still at least another 7 to 8 walk-ons that they will be adding to the roster. But they're still going, they're still being cleared, going through all the medical stuff. So until that happens, just keep checking the roster for the updates. And they're actually adding some size too. Defensive line, offensive line. You don't like what you see. I like what I saw right there. That's Gavin Meyer. He needs help putting a shirt on. Much more stout. He plays with a bully type of attitude. Something I wasn't really expecting. And here comes good old Gavin Morris. So, all right, that's it for the walkout. I will have more. I will keep doing more videos as we continue going through fall camp. But I wanted to get that one out of the way for you so you can kind of see what the team looks like. Now, I'm going to have more on fall camp in segment 2. But first, we got to do this. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to its peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers. I want to thank you again for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. For your second listen, go enjoy an episode of Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron with discussion of the upcoming season and the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, including conference realignment, the transfer portal, NIL, the new college football expanded playoffs, and more. Locked On College Football is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so the same routine from the first 2 years is USC is carrying it over into year 3 during the Lincoln Riley era. When the team goes in, you saw them walking out. When they walk through Goo Gate inside Howard Jones practice facility, what they're doing is they're getting some playbook install done. They're going through their walkthroughs. Essentially, they're going from the film room to the lab. And then once the media comes in, we see the same thing, same routine. The defense is in their white blouses. You've got the offense is wearing their cardinal, which I guess means USC is the home team against LSU in Las Vegas. I know LSU wears their whites at home, whatever. During fall camp, the offense and special teams, they're wearing cardinal. Defense is wearing white. And after the team does their skip and stretch, that's the first thing that the media gets to see. That's what we saw day 1 fall camp. The team, once they're done going through that whole routine, you know, you've seen it before. I'll gather some video. I'll show it on another episode. They get together on their new field turf. Yeah, 100 yards, newly installed. It's not AstroTurf. It's turf. It's beautiful. Gorgeous. So when they break the huddle, they all gather over there on the logo, do the team huddle. When they break the huddle, the quarterbacks and anybody who catches the ball, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, they're going through their routine, running routes against the air. They take up, I would say, 60% of the new field. They're using a really good chunk of it. But again, really nice. And you know what? Watching the guys play pitch and catch, it's cool. But I really enjoyed my time watching the defensive backs over on Brian Kennedy Field all by themselves. I'm watching Taylor Mays. He's teaching how to use inside and outside shoulder leverage, making sure you have your hand in the right place. And so he's working on that with the defensive backs. On the other part of Brian Kennedy Field, you've got secondary coach Doug Belk. You've got Bookie Radley Hiles. They're teaching the guys to make sure they're taking the right angle, how to break down for the tackle. Again, there is so much space to be used now. Every position group doesn't feel crowded. Lots of room to move around. I mean, at one point, in fact, when the team is doing their skip and stretch, you've got the long snappers and the holders. They've got Brian Kennedy to hold of themselves. It's crazy. What else did I see? Oh, the offensive line. So if you remember any of my shows last year, they put the offensive line as far away from everybody as possible. They were over there in their usual corner dungeon, which now it's where deep right center field used to be when Dato's baseball field had their old configuration. That's how far away they are. The defensive line group, they are, I guess I would say they're in short center field. They're kind of in front of where the storage pods are, where all the equipment's held now. The linebackers, they now occupy the space where the offensive line used to practice last year when there was less space. Oh, by the way, I needed my favorite part, in fact, not even maybe, my favorite part of practice was watching the linebackers. During one portion of practice, the media was able to we were led over to where the linebackers were getting coached up. I don't know, 5 feet away. Could see it, could hear everything. It was awesome. And I have to say, Matt Entz, and he's intense. It's really intense. Stickler for details. He's a former head coach. He's the assistant defensive coordinator in charge of the linebackers. The GA who helps out over there is Bryson Allen Williams, former linebacker edge from South Carolina. So I was talking about Coach Entz, how intense he is with his coaching style. Again, very detail oriented. So I just want to be known, if anybody's listening from USC, I want to spend as much time in linebacker land as possible whenever possible. That's where you'll find me. One of the drills that Coach Entz was going over with the linebackers was smashing into the sled, the blocker. Okay. Number one, when you release from that simulated blocker, your arm technique has to be correct every single time. You can't go under. If he's showing you a certain technique, you better do it the way he's showing you. Otherwise, run it again. And the same thing applies when you're hitting the sled, hitting the blocker. He wants to make sure your elbows are in so you can get that maximum leverage. Everything according to plan, everything according to detail. He's watching everything. Your footwork, your hand placement, how much energy you're using. And the outside backer who's part of the drill. When they line up, they have to attack the ball carrier, which in this case is one of those rolling, tackling donuts. Again, the wrap-up technique has to be perfect, or else you're going to hear Coach Entz start using that rough, gravelly voice. If you know what Coach Orgeron sounds like, it sounds like that, but much more hoarse. Like, I don't think Coach Entz has that voice anymore. Something else that stood out, watching freshman linebacker Jaden Walker after he went through a repetition, his teammate, also freshman linebacker Desmond Stevens, II, did a little coaching up. He wanted to remind Walker about something that Coach was that he had mentioned. Said, hey, don't forget to do this. Linebacker, rush ed, Elijah Newby. He's been getting a lot of shine. You saw him. We talked about him a lot during spring camp. He's going to be a really special player. However, those other two linebackers I just mentioned from Michigan, they make Elijah look small. Scary. So again, USC is building their roster up. They're getting the type of size you need. So if you saw the players walk through in the first segment, you saw USC has some dudes on the defensive line as well, right? Gavin Meyer, you saw him putting on his jersey there by the Trojan sword. Really stout. He's got that bully-looking style. That's someone you want inside, lining up, governing right over the opposing center. And I'm also telling you right now, Kobe Pepe, he's playing this year. Did you see him? Pretty big. See the freshman? Carlon Jones? Did you see Ratumana Bulabalavu? These are big dudes. Maybe this is why USC's coaching staff isn't as concerned as the fan base about not getting what they wanted out of the transfer portal. Yeah, they got young guys, but yeah, they're talented. And yeah, they're big. They just need some time to develop. And one more thing. Is Anthony Lucas a practice player? Or is he going to carry over his really first two good days of practice? New scheme. Anthony Lucas looks great. Big. He looks more comfortable out there as well. There was a 20 to 30 minute portion of practice on Saturday where the special teams, the quarterbacks, they're over now. The quarterbacks, they're over on Brian Kennedy Field by themselves. They're throwing the ball back and forth amongst each other, but it's a conditioning drill. They're kind of doing jogging wind sprints from sideline to sideline. When they finish that, they go into a play action type of drill. Over on the special team side of it, the wide receivers, they're practicing their coverage lanes, avoiding the defender, how to, gunner practice. Every position group was focused on their certain aspect of special teams, making sure they're doing their assignment. The last 45 minutes of practice, they went into a 7-on-7 setting. Before that, changed into 11-on-11. A lot of fun there. During the 7-on-7 portion, there was one repetition where Jacoby Lane, I don't know how he got so wide open running down the sideline, but he was wide open. Woody Marks, newsflash, he's going to be a big-time weapon out of the backfield. He probably had the play of the day. Incredible diving catch in the end zone. He also had a couple of really nice, solid runs. Jonah Monheim, this was what stood out to me. He is the epitome of that obnoxious communication that Coach Lynn described when he was introduced to USC, when he was brought on board. Jonah was calling out the assignments at the line of scrimmage, and he's loud, and trust me, everyone got the message. Everybody heard him. When Hayden Trader walked by, he confirmed that, well, he passed the eyeball test. He's big, massive. Elijah Page, solid day. Coach Henson, I heard him give at least 5 or 6 positive shout outs. My last observation from day 2's practice, the amount of space that this team has right now is crazy. Again, I cannot emphasize it enough. The new facility, it hasn't even been built yet, but it's still getting new bells and whistles. New additions are being added to Lincoln, to the vision that they have. It's continuing to come into focus. So yeah, it's like buying a new car and you're doing a factory order. Every time they see something they want to add, they call the factory, make sure that's going to be a part of it. That's what they're doing. It gave Lincoln Riley goosebumps. He talked about it. It was really cool. And speaking about the future, on that note, I've got a recruiting update, and that's coming up next. I love sports. I don't want them to stop. I wish I could just hang out at USC waiting for practice. But you know what? The playoffs, we're done. We got to wait for Major League Baseball. And we're not getting a whole lot of sports right now. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers all summer long with a boost or a bonus. And they do it daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. I teased this last week. I said USC could have a really good week of recruiting with commitments starting on Monday. Yeah. Today, if you're watching this episode of Locked On USC, they're anticipating getting a commitment from 6'6", 300-pound offensive tackle Carday Smith. He's from Mobile, Alabama. If you're an everyday listener, viewer of the show, you already know that Smith was once committed to Auburn. Well, he's no longer committed to Auburn. Hasn't been for a couple months now. And unless someone comes through with an offer that he cannot refuse, and I'm talking financially, everybody is anticipating a top 250 player in the On3 rankings committing to USC. Carday took his official visit to Los Angeles during that June 21st weekend, and he is set to make his announcement August 5th, 10 a.m. Pacific time on Instagram. So if you're watching this first thing in the morning, when you're done watching this episode, don't forget to check it out on Instagram. With his anticipated commitment, okay, if it happens, he would now give USC 15 guys in their class, and that's definitely going to move them up the national rankings. Right now, they're 18th, barely behind Penn State. Now, there's also a chance that USC is going to double down this week on the offensive line during this recruiting cycle. Again, my everydayers heard me tease the name Aaron Dunn last week. He's another big offensive tackle, 6'7.5". Yeah, 290 pounds. He's from the state of Utah, Spanish Fork to be precise. Again, he is another top 300 recruit. In fact, he's number 229 in the 2025 cycle. Aaron Dunn, he is set to make his commitment August 8th, just a few days later. And Aaron is the second highest ranked prospect in the entire state of Utah. USC is in a really good place for him. If Josh Henson can get both of these guys in the same week, that's going to have a ripple effect with the other recruits that USC is going after. And it should probably start expediting the process, getting more commitments. Because recruits need to know this. Their official offer, it has an expiration date. Yeah, it does. I was watching another guy make this argument, explaining the situation. If you didn't see it, let me tell you what an official offer really means and how recruits need to look at it in today's world of college football recruiting. Once the season starts, players that are already on college rosters are either going to be really happy or they're going to be upset with their playing time and the depth chart. USC fans, how long did it take Rayleigh Brown last year to decide he's going to use his red shirt and jump into the transfer portal once Zachariah Branch showed up? Like, what, third game? Remember that drama? I'm going to say this right now. This applies to Julian Lewis. He was supposed to shut his recruitment down and make it official that his commitment to USC, since he's been committed since August of 2023, he was supposed to shut it down. Well, he hasn't yet, and his season is almost here. Right? Depending on when you're watching this, we are in the first week of August. USC is kicking off against LSU in 27 days. So, you want your quarterback in your class to be publicly recruiting for you, out there, making a scene, so to speak. But that's not happening right now. He's being real low-key. And if I'm Lincoln Riley, I'm starting to push the issue behind the scenes. Got to do it. Once the dead period is over, Von Coach Riley, I might make an appearance over there at Centennial High School, and I'm going to kind of remind Husan Longstreet that, you know what, I'm still thinking about you. I see you. Look, if Juju is waiting to see how USC looks on the field this year, that's fair. I get it. But Lincoln Riley, he can't wait around either. If getting 2 offensive line commits, that should be a positive sign to Juju and his camp, whomever's in his ear. But right now, I'm not feeling him. Just not. And if it were me, I'm considering moving on without him. I'm not kicking him to the curb, but I'm starting to look at my plan B. I'm starting to look at what's in the best interest for USC. Again, you need your quarterback of the class to be an outspoken leader. And Lewis has been anything but that. All right. That's it for this episode of Locked on USC. Now go check out Locked on College Football with Spencer over there on YouTube or wherever you download your podcast. And when you're done with that, don't forget, wearesc.com. That's where you're going to get the rest of your USC news and nuggets that I don't give you here every single day. And by the way, I do apologize. I did say I was going to have an episode over the weekend. Something came up. Won't let that happen again. I'll do my very best. But don't forget, I'm out there at practice. When they let us be out there at practice. What you hear is what I see. I'm not breaking down the notes from what other people are gathering. That's why you're making the Locked on USC your first listen every day. So until the next episode, which is tomorrow, everyone, you know what to do.